Check out this clip right here, divers. 400 plus hours I've now sunk into this game, and I finally got one of these damn unicorn terminal sequences to pop up. I don't know why, but this got me max pumped up, far beyond just completing a mission. And this damn jammer was right next to a mission objective where we had to call down one of those SSSDDs or whatever they're called. So this jammer had to go. RNG was smiling on our squad this day, and victory was ours. Welcome to the channel. This is 𝙈𝙤𝙨𝙩𝙬, and we've got even more items to tackle as the community managers have been busy little bees, as the flamethrower and flame effects are still a hot topic, pun intended there. We've also got comparisons to No Man's Sky and Cyberpunk 2077. Interesting one developing there, and of course some interesting articles from the normal gambit of sites, and then a bug, not a bug, that I've personally seen that is apparently working as intended. And of course, we are back with your top 3 comments and more. So there's a lot crammed into this one. In case you haven't done so already, please take a moment to hit subscribe, and while you're at it, ring that notifications bell to never miss one of my future upload alerts. And it is time for all the latest from Helldivers. Okay, today's 30-second Superstore reset expires in a little under 20 hours, and yes, you can pick up the Enforcer Hybrid Medium Heavy Armor with Fortified for reduced recoil and 50% resistance to explosive damage. Of course, you've got the matching Enforcer Buckethead Helmet, the CE74 Breaker Helmet, and the lightweight Breaker Armor with Engineering Kit for reduced recoil and +2 throwables, and of course, all of these will set you back super creds. Unfortunately, yesterday the power grid around Buzz's HQ was on the fritz. Maybe I was under attack by the bots. Anyways, I was down and out for playtime and recording, but I was able to log in today, and I received the 0 medals and, yes, the 0 rec credits for yesterday's successful bot major order completion. And please, for the love of God, Arrowhead, we need a meaningful and lasting progression system along with an upgrade system installed into the game, and we needed it 6 months ago, but I digress. Anyways, as one journey ends, another begins, and we're back and taking on the Terminids while dealing with the Gloom Cloud, which sounds kind of ominous, right? With right around 5 days to go in this hybrid major order, we're about 15% into the needed Bile Titan kills, 20% into the Terminid kills, and once we've completed those, we can then proceed into holding Esker, 𝙈𝙤𝙨, good old 𝙈𝙤𝙨 seems to be on every bug major order, and finally we can finish up with Pandion 25. Now, speaking of the Titan kill count portion of this major order, and over on Reddit, this post has over 4,000 upvotes, and it's currently making the rounds over there. It says, the 5 million Bile Titan order was created so AH, Arrowhead, can get data about the head glitch so they can figure out how to fix it. Change my mind. Now, for those of you not familiar with this one, we've been seeing this Bile Titans sometimes do not take damage to the head issue popping up in the known issues board for each patch that Arrowhead publishes. By the way, that's an interesting take on the Bile Titan kill count portion of this major order. And yeah, I guess I could see this as something that's born from truth. By the way, let me know where you stand on this one by dropping me a comment. Also interesting, I'm going to be saying that word a lot today, is that today's daily or personal order also involves killing Bile Titans. In this case, 4 of them, and as always, expect the kills to be shared across the squad. And by the way, no specific weapons are listed here. Just nuke 4 of these monsters and expect to pocket 15 medals. It's really pretty straightforward, but they are tough and they require multiple hits unless you're rocking the orbital rail cannon strike, which is one-tapping them with consistent shots. The official Helldivers Discord has been its usual hustle and bustle, and now we can again add into the mix Twinbeard, who is back from extended vacation and answering community members at a ferocious pace. Now, in general, sentiment for Helldivers, even within this friendly Discord environment, is starting to wane, Players are questioning studio decisions much more than before. Doubts are settling in. You get the picture, which prompted Twinbeard to respond to many of these community posts, starting off with a statement about how Arrowhead has not been reacting fast enough, no reverts, etc. Here's what he said. To be fair, I think we've always been quick to own some or most mistakes. It's one thing, though, to say that you want to do better and actually do better, which is what we're doing now, setting new plans and processes in play. Hopefully, that will result in a better outcome going forward. I agree, hopefully. Hope is the last thing that abandons man. Hope and taxes. Normally, you would see this one and done response. Community member post, community manager responds, but in this case, other members then chimed in and we started to get this back and forth. Here's what prompted Twinbeard again to respond. This is a community member saying, Twinbeard, my dude, I love you, but the promise was there even when Pillstead stepped down. It's just hard to take stuff seriously now, But I wish the dev team Godspeed. I don't want to see such a great game die. Which then prompted Twinbeard to really dig deep, posting a wall of text. Just listen to all of this. Yeah, we know it's an ongoing story where some mistakes have been made for sure. We're not shying away from that. A colleague asked me about the possibility of earning trust back earlier today. I said that my belief and experience is that as long as you have a fundamentally good product, brand, IP, studio, company, and a decent amount of time and resources, aka dollars, you can make amazing reversals. Listen to this. If you look at No Man's Sky, Sea of Thieves, Fallout 76, Cyberpunk 2077, and Final Fantasy XIV, some had so-so, some fair, and some catastrophic launches, but all have remained and made comebacks. We've instead enjoyed a smashing release and first 6 months of success and are now facing our difficult second album, to use music lingo. We have a lot of great ideas, an awesome community, and are adamant of improving in the areas we've lacked. And I hope and think we'll do better going forward. He finishes with, this unintentionally almost became a today we celebrate our Independence Day speech. Haha, still, we're just getting started. Okay, we're done with the quotes for a little bit and just me speaking here. I don't always agree with the community post, the tone, or the general lack of information, but Twinbeard does answer comments with passion. And for me, that's always appreciated. As I start to look at what he said, though, those are some interesting references. Arrowhead did have a huge opening act, which we already knew, 12 plus million copies sold, but now they're struggling to keep up with that initial success. I would add in that the vast, and I do mean vast, majority of what is causing the discontent with the community is self-inflicted wounds by the studio, by Arrowhead themselves. I mean, I've been here since the early days of Helldivers, and you can see how this game has changed from that very first patch and every patch since. We came in with this huge player power fantasy, lasers, bullets, and explosions everywhere. It's just a crazy horde-style shooter. Everyone is going crazy about the game. And then we started seeing this slow push towards it becoming a sweaty milsim. Reductions to power over here, less ammo over there. Oh, that flamethrower, that railgun, that guard dog rover, that commando are all not working the way we want them to. So they're either getting nerfed or expect them to be. Just setting the stage for the rover and commando. Watch for those. Again, 99% of the issues the players are seeing are brought on by the studio, as it has some unseen but perceived internal battle to decipher what kind of game it wants to become. Is this Tarkov in space, or is it more of a chaotic horde shooter? Also, and maybe I'm the only one that finds this intriguing, is how Twinbeard throws in the NMS, Fallout 76, and Cyberpunk references there as well, and how those games have all seen kind of their phoenix moments where they started off with tragic launches and have slowly but surely progressed, let's call it matured, into really enjoyable games. NMS, or No Man's Sky, was crazy, and I remember it when it launched, and the fact that many of the features that were promised to be in the game were not there at launch. They were missing. Sean Murray had simply lied to the public, and the blowback was severe. Fallout 76 and Bethesda produced a freaking mess. Horrific netcode, bad experience, and it was chock to the brim full of microtransactions. 2077 was the exception because the PC launch was overall pretty good. But on the flip side, the last-gen console launch was a disaster, and it was later discovered that CD Projekt Red had lied to the public about the performance on those consoles, and they had also manipulated the reviews. I guess the point here is that all of these games, which are now considered to be good, if not great games, all started off as varying degrees of dumpster fires, and all of them, through hard work, through dedication, and also a ton of money spent in continued development, have now turned it all around. Helldivers, though, is kind of the reverse of this story, right? Sure, the servers were toast at launch, but the game itself came in like gangbusters, with huge player counts and sales, and then, through the dedicated nerfs laid out by the studio and those odd and baffling changes they made to the game, the players have slowly left over time. So, yeah, I see what Twinbeard is saying here, but the roles are flipped with Helldivers when compared to those other heavies that he mentioned. Twinbeard was also busy fielding all sorts of incoming flack about the Flamethrower, and when asked about the Charger Flamethrower bug, he had this to say: yes and no. Yes, we're looking into it, and by it, I mean several things surrounding the Charger and flames, etc. No, as in no ETA or final decision on it, them or those. Translation here, it's still broken, and Arrowhead needs even more time to meet and discuss more what they want to do with this or what they don't want to do with it. Now, flame effects and how the visuals look bad was also asked, of which Twinbeard also responded, quote, "We're discussing the whole flamethrower thing, ATM, or at the moment. It's complicated, but we're investigating if there could be options there. And yes, visuals, etc. are suboptimal for sure. That's why we're not satisfied with the current situation. Hoping to get it back if or when there's any new information there." Again, me just interjecting here and dropping in my 2 cents, but the visuals should honestly be the last priority when it comes down to flame effects. The devs need to first concentrate on making this weapon powerful again, because you can make it look fancy with fumes and excess fluid dripping from the nozzle, but if it struggles to down even basic chaff, it can't pass through targets, and it deflects back at a diver when encountering armor. Oh, and by the way, it can't even damage the backside of a charger. It makes this thing unusable. So yeah, visual effects are the last thing we need to be asking of the studio when it comes down to fire and flame effects. Making the rounds from the gaming sites, and GamesRadar ran with this Helldivers headline: New Helldivers 2 patch finally fixed ragdolling from those pesky impalers and rocket-wielding automatons. There's also a fix for flamethrowers straight up ignoring enemies. And then they go on to say, it's a pretty short patch and all, but the ragdoll effect being remedied should satisfy Helldivers 2 players for now. I think this is a case of them reading the patch notes, not really testing anything after the patch was deployed, and then posting the article, which I've also been guilty of in the past, but tried to avoid now. I tried out the impalers on Super Helldive this morning, and the ragdolling is still there, and that's just from one impaler. Maybe their tentacles have less radius to them, so you have a better shot of avoiding that splash, but overall, I was still seeing it there. I also got a free proctology exam while interacting with the terminal. Again, no warning, nothing you can do, just a tentacle from underneath, insta-death, and an extended flight across the entire map. GameRant actually went in a completely opposite direction, saying Helldivers 2 should do away with one controversial feature. Now, what's that controversial feature? Undeserved deaths as they relate to headshot damage. Quote, "The main reason behind headshots being such a controversial feature of Helldivers 2 is that they are seemingly random and unavoidable. Planets in Helldivers 2 very rarely have flat terrain, and even the slightest difference in verticality between players and enemies can increase the player's likeliness of receiving a headshot, regardless of how accurate the enemy AI is. Between this and the variety of weapons that automaton and terminid enemies have access to, insta-kill headshots in Helldivers 2 are practically inevitable. This can be frustrating since headshots don't go both ways, meaning most enemies can't be killed with a single precise bullet or melee attack, unlike what happens to players." GameRant then goes on to list out some of the counters players can try to equip, like wearing the Democracy Protects armor for that 50% chance to survive lethal instances of damage, things like shield gen packs, and so on. Now, I thought I was just going to shake my head at GameRant again, but this article actually got me thinking. Yes, there are times I get one-shotted, especially versus the bots, where it's some low-level bot and they just instantly crumple me. Would this change to headshot damage, where we are clearly underpowered compared to our enemies, make that much of a difference to the way this game plays? Maybe, maybe not. I think I remember something like this being addressed in previous patches. I remember seeing something like this in the patch notes, or at least it had something to do with this massive and overwhelming headshot damage we would take. Do you think removing this effect overall would have a positive effect on the game? Again, that's a great topic for chat, so make sure to leave me a comment. Let's see where the community stands on this one. And finally, it's a bug. Wait, no it isn't. And again, we turned to Reddit for this one, and I just want to ask before I read through this, how many of you divers actually knew this existed? The question has to do with destructible objectives and how we take on things like a command bunker or anything like that, basically a hardened structure. And we're normally given the option of calling in a hell bomb. However, when you take on the Automaton Strongholds, you are not, I repeat, you are not given that option. So if you don't have a strat strong enough to destroy it, you're in a bind. Now here's where it gets pretty interesting, because this player got a response from Arrowhead support, which they posted up. Here's what support had to say. Hey there, I checked in with the developer about this, and this is intended behavior. On the game's highest difficulty, it's expected that players know what to expect and bring the tools required to deal with the challenges found there. You or someone on the team will need to bring a stratagem capable of destroying them, as one is provided for you, such as a 500 kg bomb. Wow, okay. I haven't truly paid enough attention to those strongholds to see this one yet. Maybe I have, and I just didn't realize what I was looking at. But overall, kind of odd that you can get access to the Hell Bomb for every other instance, but not for a Detector Tower if it's inside a stronghold. Now I want to dive into the game and see this one for myself. But I think you're also going to run into issues now with this instance of that 500 kg not landing exactly where you called it in, and it goes off feet from the target and doesn't destroy it. So, I don't know if they're just covering for the studio or if it really was intended that way. But yeah, we definitely need the option to call in a hell bomb versus a detector tower inside one of those strongholds. And now it's time for your top 3 comments from my last Helldivers video. And by the way, if you want to see your name up in lights in my next video, you first need to take the time to drop a comment on this video. And just like last video, I'm saying video far too much, so let's just shut up and get right into it. Number 1 comes from Speed Demon 7678. They said, those idiots in charge of balancing are chasing a goal that can never be reached. Yeah, once again, I don't know. Are they trying to turn Helldivers into Tarkov in space? Is this supposed to be a sweaty milsim, or are we still just doing with a crazy, chaotic, horde-style shooter? Again, I don't know, but they're balancing it like they want it to be an esports competitive game. Moving on, number 2 is from Casey360360, throw 360. If they came flat out and just said, hey, we're kind of losing our ass because we have zero clue what the F we're doing, I'd have a lot more patience and respect for them. Yeah, word, Casey. I'm a big proponent of truth. If they were messing up and they just couldn't handle it, it would be nice for them to just come out and say, hey, we need help. Please send assistance. Anyways, number 3 is matthewegeler. Maybe I said that right, EGELER, and their comment says, no wonder Let Us Cook never worked. They nerfed the fire damage. Can't cook without fire. Oh yeah, Matthew, that one hits home in so many ways. I like that comment, by the way. Thank you. And congrats to all the top 3 comments for this video. Okay, I think we've carried on long enough for today, and remember, if you want to see the possibility of your comment being featured in my next Helldivers video, you need to take the time to leave me a comment on this video, and who knows, you can see your name and comment up in lights. Remember to hit subscribe and ring that notifications bell to receive my latest upload alerts. All my socials, including all the links I've used to the reference material in today's video, can be found in the video description. Shout out to the now nearly 241,000 of you legends from across the globe who've stuck with me, you've hit subscribe, and you tune in to support me and my content. We're making that last little push up to 250K. I'd appreciate you all clicking sub if you haven't done so already. Until the next one, this is Lieutenant BuzzLitebeer signing off.